Hey there, hi there, ho there, hello, it's Dren here again, talking today about sound design in music. How I've kind of used sound design elements as part of a music piece. You can talk about sound design as maybe synthesizer programming, that's legitimate sound design, or using something like what's over there behind me, you know, a big modular synth rig, that's certainly sound design. And then the idea of using recorded source material in ways that it hadn't really been intended, or just putting it into a new context, creating new context for the sounds that surround that piece of source material. Good example is what Ben Burtt did, who was the original sound designer for the Star Wars films. You've all heard of TIE Fighter, right? So TIE Fighter has an elephant sound included in it. He was really great at combining unlike sounds, like sounds that you wouldn't imagine would work together in a way that worked together. And that's really kind of the creation of modern sound design, you know, layering all sorts of different types of source recorded sounds that you wouldn't associate with that thing that you're trying to make a sound for. So I wanted to share some of the sound design elements that I added within the tracks from the polyheDren Psychic record. polyheDren is an ongoing collaboration project. I'm working on new tracks now for it. The first album was the type of record that really benefited from having all sorts of crazy sounds thrown into it. In today's modern audio world, we have things like podcasts and all sorts of different audio material that we're hearing that is often a combination of all these different things. Think about different podcasts you listen to, and you've got music playing, and then you have voiceover, but then sometimes there's sound effects playing, and sometimes there's kind of a music thing and maybe a sound effect thing, and they all kind of blend together and amalgamate into something that might be hard to define sometimes. And I think that's really interesting. So I like putting these kind of sounds into my music and creating a new context for some of these sounds. Say, put new music around someone talking that you've recorded, or some kids playing at the playground, and you put it into a song, and it elevates everything and kind of gives this different context to it, which I find tremendously interesting. Our brains have a way of creating context when we hear things combined with each other like that. It's fun to play with. So I'm going to show you some of those examples. Okay, so this first piece is called Scorpions a Lot, and it features two guests, a great singer named Rini. She is in New York, but originally from India, and the well-known guitar player Nels Cline, who plays with Wilco and lots of his own projects, Nels Cline Singers, and he's played with a lot of people, Mike Watt, different people over the years, and he's done a lot of interesting experimental guitar stuff. So you hear a lot of that in here, and I think that his kind of guitar playing is perfect for this kind of song because he uses pedals and he uses sounds and all these things as something that's not quite music, but kind of is music. And so it's riding this gray area of audio that I like to explore. So here's the intro. I'll just play it and then I'll solo Nels's intro. This is the edited version. There's a non-edited version too on the record that has a longer intro that he had recorded. So this one has the truncated. So that's all Nels at the beginning here. And so it already is giving the song it's giving the listener an idea of what's to come. There's going to be a little different, right? So I've got some of these bits highlighted over here in pink that are some of the more sound designy elements. So let's skip over to those. So I have this record scratching loop thing. And I liked adding that as both a rhythmic element and as sort of a sound effect element. And then if we combine just that with what Nels is doing down here, which I think that's the vocals. here we got Nels's parts going on here. So we've got this kind of thing. So all very sound designy sounding, right? If you get kind of my meaning that I'm using here. Another thing that I have in here is some hobby race cars that are recorded nearby in my neighborhood. It was, I think, either Christmas Day or the day after, and these kids were racing their remote control cars over nearby here in a park, and I recorded some of it. So what's interesting to me is, again, combining this with what Nels did, it was kind of a serendipitous moment. But I'll play just the cars. So that really has no effect on it except for what I pulled up here. It's got the shred spread, which is a thing that I use sometimes just to really spread things really unnaturally wide, which is what I used it for here. Otherwise, it's got some reverb on it. So if we hear that, and I didn't do anything to this file, and then we hear that combined with some of what Nels did. It's the same note. So it was funny to me. Let's hear it in the context of the song. We hear the guitar and then we hear the race cars all playing the same note. It's almost like they're talking to each other, which is something I really liked about that moment of those two things working together. Then we've got some more cars here in this part of the song. I added this little rocket taking off sound. It's a model rocket. So let's hear that in the song. I think it's turned down a little bit here, but it just kind of gives this idea that the song's kind of taken off in another direction. So not that different than, say, like a cymbal swell or something that a percussionist might do, or even a synth part, but it's a rocket taking off. Okay, so what else we have in here? There's some, I'll just solo some of Nels' stuff at the end. And then I think I was automating a lot of this, yeah. And you hear the way that he uses effects, very much like a sound designer would use them. And then I think there are maybe some synth parts in here. I'm not sure about this, but I think there are some synth parts that are also a little bit on the sound designy side of things. Yeah, so there are some synth parts here, live analog synths that are recorded. This is the Yamaha CS30, which I have right over there, and I did a lot of wobbly sounds. You can see how many I tried doing a lot, and it looks like I didn't keep that many of them. I kept this one, which is the sound. Not all that interesting on its own. And then what is this, a high-pitched sound? Yeah, so these combined are a little more interesting. And then I'll play with the other wobbly low sounds. And then let's just hear that in context with the song. So it gives you an idea, some of the sound designy things, crossing the lines between music and sound design. I'm going to open another project here. Okay, so this is a song called Planted a Flower. It's also on the polyheDren Psychic record. The guests include vocalist Ali Paris and cellist Misha Kelikulov. Again, both of them are contributing in a way that is somewhere between music and sound design. I think Misha's parts definitely veered into the sound design world a little bit more, and then I edited them to serve that role as well. So the song Planted a Flower comes from one of the vocal samples that I used here, and it's a kid saying it, and really the whole song is kind of about childhood, growing up, becoming more mature, kind of that journey from innocence, even though there's no lyrics or anything like that. That was kind of my thought behind it. So let's listen to some of the sound design stuff going on in here. Here's Misha. Oh, that's some fuzz guitar I put in there. Let's hear what that sounds like. So you can hear that's pretty sound designy too, and it almost sounds like a cello when you hear the cello parts. We got these playground sounds. So this fuzz played, and then now you're going to hear this cello part that comes in right here that he played, and then with the playground. So let's just hear how those are working together. And there's something very musical, obviously, about the human voice when we say certain phrases, especially children when they're talking and laughing and playing. And I love this little melodic sound here. And then hearing it with the music, this part just always makes me smile. So, using a lot of these kind of found voices and playground sounds, things like that, as sounds in here, was most of the sound design that I was using in here, although I did do some synthy stuff here, these flutter sounds. And this is done with the Yamaha CS15D, which I have up there, like a 70s, mid-70s, early 70s synth. So let's hear some of those. And that kind of contributes to the overall kind of 70s Pink Floyd kind of psychedelic sound that I was working with here. Again, Pink Floyd, lots of sound design in their music. Listen to Dark Side of the Moon, right? Or Wish You Were Here. All sorts of sound design elements in their music. Okay, and then the last one I want to show from Psychic, from the polyheDren record, is a song called Buckaroo Moon, which has a lot of crazy things in it. So even the intro is a strange sample that I messed around with of these Cambodian kids yelling at people. So let's see, I think it starts around here. So yeah, here's that, and you can see I tweaked that audio file. And this is a longer version of it over here. So I kind of turn it into a musical element as if they were singing. And then we've got some funny things down here. When the song gets grooving, we have some crows that are recorded near my parents' house. And they got a lot to crow about, apparently. So I put them in time. So here they are singing. So I just thought that was funny. I don't know. I liked it in there. It doesn't really come back. It's just a thing at the beginning to keep the groove interesting. At the time I was working on this song, I was playing around with the Digitact and putting samples into it and playing around with it. So there's a lot of that stuff in here. So this is a violin that I recorded for a different project and then just kind of played around with this violin part in the Digitact. So I think I slowed it down and played it backwards. This one is some other kind of thing. What is this? Some other funny laugh that is all the way through this song. I just think it's a funny laugh, and I kind of pitched it down in Digitac. Again, same sort of thing. I think that was a sample of somebody saying polyheDren, and I just tweaked it. So there's a lot of those kind of things in here getting used in different ways through the piece. And then, yeah, we've got the Cambodian kids here again at the end. And it's just a lot of elements that you wouldn't expect to work together. Putting these kind of crazy crow sounds with that kind of vocal and this kind of groove. Not the expected thing, but it's something I like. All right, sound design and music. That's all I wanted to talk about. Give you a few examples, and you can check out the polyheDren record. It's got links down here. Looks like this. And I hope to see you next time. So thanks for hanging out and talking about this kind of weird stuff. If you have any examples of your own work or other work that you like that uses sound design in music, put links in the chat here in the comments, and I'd love to check it out. All right, thanks.